product you are working on, because they're always like, well, what is the result of that work product? Because they don't assume that a thing needs to be a thing, which again is very egoless. Like they don't go, oh, well, this is what it should be. But potentialists look at something and go, oh, this is what it could be. And when you do that on a very human level, these are people who understand your unique set of skills and your unique possibilities, and again, are actively ambitious for you and are like, well, is whatever it is you're talking about actually leveraging your unique set of skills? And then last but not least, I had sponsors around me, and I don't mean the financial sponsors. I mean the people who were like, you know what, you have delivered value, whatever value might be, over time, and earned not only my trust in making a bet on you, but also trust in my relationships. And so would open doors for me and say, look, so-and-so, you need to talk to Joanna because she's a really good idea. And by the way, you should write her a check as well. And really would absolutely do that actively. And sponsors are really, really interesting people because often they don't announce themselves. They don't say, hi, here's who I am. And especially, and I talk about gender a little bit, especially as women, this is something we generally do a lot of because of a myriad of reasons. But the guys certainly do it for each other. And I was like, how do I make that happen? So surrounded myself with these folks who, as I was saying, I want to start a thing from an idea that comes from me in a very selfish way. And I think, again, I love to hold two contrary ideas in my hand. It's starting a company is a very selfish thing to do, and yet is probably the most generous act you will ever do in your life if you are doing it right. Because if you're not generous about it, it's not going to work.
Right.
And so holding those two things, my sponsors would come back and actually say, look, my mirrors and potentialists would help me see if my idea was understandable. My sponsors would actually help me see if my idea was marketable, because there was always revenue behind it. And that, when I come back to lessons learned at multiple startups, is revenue is oxygen. Revenue is the thing that allows you to move forward and really thinking, who and why is somebody going to buy something? And the actual value of $1 as you are thinking about that, I think is critically important. And often I hear really beautiful ideas and I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Not who is going to pay for it, but what is the market that is going to pay for those sorts of things?
Right.
And it applies not only to ideas for companies, but I think it also applies to ideas for individuals. Like I was working with a young man the other day who wanted to pitch a job to his boss. And he was like, help me figure out how to pitch this new job to the boss. And I said, does the job exist today? And he said, no. And I said, well, then you don't want to push the job to the boss yet. I said, you've got to back up and actually get the boss to agree that the problem that the job is going to solve actually exists, and that there is a financial driver that actually can connect to that. And I said, now, once you get that, once they go, ooh, if we invest into this problem to help solve it, then you can create the job. But don't be coming in and saying, look, I need a job because I need the sticker and all of those sorts of things.
So Joanna, I want to ask you, in the last few minutes that we have on the show, if you would share, given all that you've done, both on the corporate side and also as an entrepreneur, and with the hundreds of people that you've worked and consulted with on their path, what are your 3 kind of go-to hacks that save you a lot of time, have saved you money, and even, provided a competitive edge for you?
Sure. Well, I'm sorry, Fernanda, but I am going to push back. I think we live in a world of cheat codes, and they do not serve us. We need to actually look at power-ups, because what power-ups do is give you tools to actually do the work more. And I'm just going to share a little data point with the audience to prove my point, because I got one the other day and I love a data point, is they've been studying the value of homework with students, and noticed that there's a dramatic drop in the value of homework from 85% impact on a student's grade to a 45% impact on a student's grade, because the shift has gone from to be able to do your homework in the early 2000s, you didn't really have the internet to go look up the answer. Today you do. And because the answers are generally copy and paste, they are not actually understanding the material. And actually the research and understanding the material means they are better students at the end of the day. And I say that and say, this is actually kind of power up number one. I'm just going to use my language instead of yours, is that, you know, we are all both experts and students of everything. Figuring out for you both, what are you an expert in? So can people figure out how to engage you in your area of expertise, but also where are you a student? And being a student of something means you can also be a complete and utter train wreck in it as well, which I think is bonus, because you can't actually be right about everything. This whole, you need to have all the answers and you need to be perfect is just right. And so I tell people a lot, I am a student of whatever it is, which still gives you the points for being smart about something. So that's the first thing. And actually figuring out what you want to be a student of, I think is critically important. The second thing that is a drumbeat for me is there a smarter, easier, faster, more fun way of doing everything? I have almost an allergic reaction now, only because I've had to be, in essence, an inventor most of my life anyway. But if somebody says, oh, well, this is the way you do something, I almost, like a little kid with a train set, will take the entire thing apart and look at all of the parts and go, well, is this the most efficient way of doing it? Is this the most fun way of doing it for me? And can I put it back together in a way that not only is efficient and fun, but also is more fun for the other side and actually reinvents how something is done? And initially, that's a lot more hard work. I think when you do it over and over and over again, certainly the way I did it in my career so far, I've gotten very fast at it. It's a bit like any skill that you practice over time, that you get very good at it over time. And that not necessarily following the rule book for everybody else is a biggie, as you heard from the beginning. And then the last one, which seems so simple and yet is so important, is belief in oneself. You cannot expect or ask anybody else to believe in you if you do not believe in you. And confidence is a muscle that you build over time. And the only way to get more confident in something is to do the thing. There is no hack for confidence. There is no, here are the things, you literally do it. And I joke with people that we're all locked in houses in COVID at the moment. And so my husband has seen more of me than he normally would. And every day I come to dinner and I tell him how I am a genius in some way, shape, or form. The other night I was a no-code genius. I am teaching myself how to use API calls and different cloud-based systems to build whatever it is I want to build. And so I've been walking around telling him I'm no-code genius. And he laughs at me. But the conversation is with myself more than anybody else, because I need to believe it first.
Well, I think you're 100% right about the confidence being critical to success, 100%. Well, unfortunately, Joanna, we're out of time. I feel like we could go for easily another half hour, but maybe we'll have you back sometime very soon. So thank you for being on Startup Hacks today. Your insights were incredibly insightful, and I'm sure our listeners really enjoyed hearing your journey and your point of view, which is always incredibly inspiring and very original. So if anyone would like to learn more about you and your work, where would you suggest that they go to find out more information?
Sure. Best place is on the website at joannabloor.com. And I'm sure you're going to put links in and spell out my weird sounding name, which is where you can also find me on both Twitter mostly and LinkedIn. So at Joanna Bloor, JoannaBloor are the best places to find me.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. And tune in next week for more Startup Hacks. We have another great show that you won't want to miss on the secret female founder strategies that can save you time and money when building your business. This podcast is brought to you by Women Entrepreneurs Global, the first startup studio and digital do-it-yourself startup platform for women. For more information on our guests, this podcast, and many other female founder programs, please visit womenentrepreneurs.global. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapina, and we'll see you next week. Thank you for joining Startup Hack. Tune in next week for more interviews. We have another great show you won't want to miss on the secret female founder strategies that can save you time and money when building your business. This podcast is brought to you by Women Entrepreneurs Global, the first startup studio and digital do-it-yourself startup platform for women. For more information on our guests, this podcast, and many other female founder programs, please visit womenentrepreneurs.global. I'm your host, Fernanda Carapina. See you next week.